Hi, boys and girls. We're heading into our next lesson for writing. We have talked a lot about thinking of ideas to write about for our realistic fiction stories. Today, we're going to pick one idea from our brainstorming map, and we're going to zoom in until we find that perfect story. So let me show you. So first we're going to read or listen to a story. It's called The Snowy Day. So go ahead and listen to it.
The Snowy Day, written and illustrated by Ezra Jack Keats.
One winter morning, Peter woke up and looked out the window. Snow had fallen during the night. It covered everything as far as he could see. After breakfast, he put on his snowsuit and ran outside. The snow was piled up very high along the street to make a path for walking. Crunch, 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 his feet sank into the snow. He walked with his toes pointing out like this. He walked with his toes pointing in like that. Then he dragged his feet slowly to make tracks, and he found something sticking out of the snow that made a new track. It was a stick that was just right for smacking a snow-covered tree. Down fell the snow, plop, on top of Peter's head. He thought it would be fun to join the big boys in their snowball fight, but he knew he wasn't old enough. Not yet. So he made a smiling snowman, and he made angels. He pretended he was a mountain climber. He climbed up a great big tall heaping mountain of snow and slid all the way down. He picked up a handful of snow, and another, and still another. He packed it round and firm and put the snowball in his pocket for tomorrow. Then he went into his warm house. He told his mother all about his adventures while she took off his wet socks. And he thought and thought and thought about them. Before he got into bed, he looked in his pocket. His pocket was empty. The snowball wasn't there. He felt very sad. While he slept, he dreamed that the sun had melted all the snow away. But when he woke up, his dream was gone. The snow was still everywhere. New snow was falling. After breakfast, he called to his friend from across the hall, and they went out together into the deep, deep snow. The end.
What was the story about? The author chose a small seed story and wrote a whole story about that. We're going to do that as well. So I'm going to look on my brainstorming list from yesterday, and when we were finished, I added another one that I thought would be good, and I wrote injury. So I'm going to write a story about an injury. So let's see. I'm going to write a story about a time Bob, my character from my character map, got hurt. Raise your hand if you've ever been hurt before. I know I have. We could write about so much about being injured, but we want to zoom in to one injury. We learned about how the pumpkin and the seed stories in our personal narratives. Remember, pumpkin stories are big. They're big like a pumpkin. So our injury for my story is the big pumpkin. And seed stories we zoom in to get more of a specific story. So pumpkin stories are big and seed stories are smaller. Realistic fiction stories need to have seed stories, just like personal narrative stories. Now that we have our pumpkin story, the injury, we're going to zoom in to the seed story. I'm going to think about what to write about. Bob fell off his bike and he got hurt. Before I start writing, I'm going to think about everything that happened and all the details about how fast Bob was going, how Bob felt, and where Bob was when he was riding his bike. So to do this, you're going to go to your Google Classroom and you're going to pull up the pre-writing sheet. This is how it should look. We're going to fill this one out together about my story. So I know my character's name is going to be about Bob. So I just double-clicked under the character. I'm going to erase where it says type, and I'm going to write my character's name. Bob. Bob is my character. The setting where he got hurt is outside. And outside, how about on a street in a neighborhood? Okay, so my setting is outside and he's on a street in a neighborhood. So the problem. What is the problem in my story? So Bob was riding his bike. And what happened? What happened in my story? So Bob got hurt because he fell off his bike. And what is the solution? What helped Bob fix the problem? Well, he got hurt. So Bob got a Band-Aid and he hopped back up on his bike. To ride some more. My problem is that he got hurt because he fell off his bike. And the solution is that Bob got a Band-Aid and he hopped back up on his bike to ride some more. Okay, so now I have my pre-writing template filled out. This is my brainstorming map, more of my story to help me when I write the whole story. So now I want you to pick one thing from your brainstorming map. You can also pick an injury if you want, but your story details will probably be different than mine because you're not going to have the same character. You may not have the same setting or the problem or solution. So you're going to go ahead and then go to click your teacher, go to Google Classroom, look for the pre-writing template, and I look forward to seeing your story laid out in your pre-writing template. So authors, I think you are ready. Go ahead, go write your details and think about your story.